You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday morning. Excuse me, it's Friday. It just seems like yesterday. It always does. I say that every day, I think, but it's Friday morning. I've got Hanson Hindenburg from Baytown Tires. It's rainy outside. It's miserable looking out there, but you know how far it is. Give it a couple of hours and it'll change. But on tires, how we talk about tires all the time, Hanson. What should people be looking at about how their tires perform in the rain today?
Well, I mean, we talk about it a lot, like you said. Two important things, of course, that we need to look for is that tread is on the tire, and a lot of times we've talked about also that, you know, how old the tire is real important on how the tire is going to stick to the road.
Right. I see a lot of cars coming in. they're past the 232nd wear bar, and I tell the customer, I said, "Sir, this car is not safe." And they said, "Well, it's just right at the 232nd wear bar." And I said, "Really, it should be 432nds. You should be changing your tires, not 232nds." And they look at me like I've just stepped off of a spaceship when I tell them that. Well, I've always believed the 232nds. I said, well, I think you told me that 432nds of a tire tread will stop twice as fast in the thickness of a dime rain, that much thickness of rain, than 232nds. It makes
and
that
that's absolutely right. And you know, people ask about the wet traction on a tire all the time, and they thinking, well, you know, that has to do with acceleration when they step on the gas, and they feel like the tires are old when they start spinning. But wet traction, like you said, is actually calculated by how quickly the car will stop with the tire on there, and it makes a huge difference.
It apparently does make a huge difference because we see a lot of people coming in after the rain wanting tires. I guess they realize that they don't have the control. And we have this, what I call Florida ice for the first hour after it rains. You have all that oil that comes up, and you're really riding on oily water for the first, till the rain washes it off the road a little bit more. But it's pretty dangerous if you don't have good traction and good tires. Now, we talk about the rubber getting too old. We talk about the depth of the tires, and you talked about the traction. The traction, when it gives that number, it's either A, B, C, or D. Is that right on the traction numbers?
That's right. And most tires are going to be in the A and B range.
Okay.
And very few are going to be left in the B range. Almost everything is in the A or double A range nowadays.
And that is, they measure that by not taking off on traction like a dragster, but they're talking about how well it stops, which is.
And what they do is, and it's a pretty simple test, and it's actually fairly standardized. They put the tires on the car, on a test car, accelerate it to about 65 miles an hour. And they have a little measuring device in there, an accelerometer. They stomp on the gas, and it tells them how long it takes for that vehicle to stop.
Wow.
If it's in a certain range, then they get that A or double A marker for traction.
So traction is standardized, I guess, as far as the traction is between manufacturers. So if it gives you an A rating, it's pretty well going to be an A rating on traction on Michelin or Pirelli or Goodyear. They're all pretty well standard as far as traction. What about on heat range? Heat range, that's another one.
Heat range, it's pretty much the same. They fill the tire up to its maximum inflation and then run it and run it and run it and run it some more on a machine until it basically blows out.
Wow.
And that time frame that it takes for that tire to blow out is the determination of what the heat range is on that particular tire.
They actually blow the tire. They fill it up and they put it on a machine and they spin it up and put more pressure on it to actually the tire literally fails.
Until it builds up so much heat and pressure that it actually blows up.
I had no idea how have you ever seen that test done on?
I have not.
Okay, that sounds dangerous.
That's pretty much standardized as well. So that's not something that is measured randomly.
Okay, so heat range and traction are standard. But didn't you tell me one of the ratings on there is not standard? It has to do with manufacturer to manufacturer, and that is the tread wear. I think that's what.
Tread wear is basically determined by the manufacturer themselves.
Okay.
And it really is judged against other tires in their lineup. So if you have a 600 tread wear rating, that means that it's twice as good as their 300 tread wear rating in that particular lineup.
Oh,
that
okay.
doesn't really give you any indication versus another tire manufacturer, because, like I said, it's determined by the manufacturer themselves.
Okay, well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So what is the highest tread-rated tire, well, in your experience, one that lasts the longest and still is still a good tire, has still good traction? After 5 years, which tire manufacturer out there do you think has the best tread wear, traction, and heat range? Now, I'm probably putting you on the spot here.
Well, it's pretty standard, and some manufacturers have better tires than in their lineup than others. Like, I would say Goodyear makes some great tires, and they also make some tires that don't last as long with their Goodyear name on it.
Oh, okay.
Michelin usually has a very high standard.
Okay.
You know, that in their new tire, the Premier basically says, hey, it's going to have the same traction on day one as it will about 50,000 miles down the road.
Really? That my wife said that's what she wants.
Well, and they've really, you know, that's, you know, if you ever watch their advertising and it stands true, they say, hey, this is what we want to do, because the traction rating that we talk about earlier is basically when the tire is brand new. Now you get about 30,000 miles on there and wear some of that rubber off of there, and some of the you know, tread wear and everything is gone. It changes the characteristics of the tire.
You're right. I have noticed that. I've had tires that are 2 or 3 years old, and I'm going, man, they just don't grip the road like they used to, or they don't, you know, don't handle like they used
now,
to.
and what tire manufacturers do is they put a very good rubber compound at first, and then they put fillers in there because they're less expensive rubber-wise. So what, you know, Michelin and even Yokohama have tried to do is basically put the same rubber compound through the entire tire, through the entire tread, making it, you know, so you have a great gripping tire the first day and 50,000 miles.
So Yokohama does the same thing? Or is there any other manufacturers that are doing what they're doing by having the same quality?
Continental General, you know, is really trying to do the same thing as well.
Okay.
There's you know, tons of manufacturers that are really, because if one manufacturer does it, the next manufacturer is going to want to do it too to be competitive.
I was just curious.
Bridgestone makes some excellent tires with the same concept.
And this is all free market. They're doing this without government coercion or force. They realize that the customer wants a tire, a certain type of tire, and they're meeting what the customer's demands and needs are. And the only thing the government's involved in basically is make sure you print on the side of the tire when it was made, where it was made, and all the stuff that goes with it, all that little, you know, and the DOT numbers.
You're absolutely right. I mean, competition is great in the tire business because, like you said, if Bridgestone makes an excellent tire, the Michelin goes like, man, we better make an excellent tire as well, and it just goes on down to the you know, the lease manufacturer to go like, wow, we need to be able to sell tires, so we better step up our game.
Well, I noticed a few years ago when a Michelin tire came in, if we put more than 2 ounces of weight on the tire, there was something wrong with the tire. I can't even remember when I had to put more than 2 ounces on a Michelin tire when I mounted them. But I've not had so much good fortune when it comes to other brands of tires. I've had some.
You know, and then Goodyear and some of their better tires, Bridgestone, Michelin, Yokohama. What they do is they actually spin balance the tire.
So they're doing that too. I thought just Michelin did it.
Well, they what really makes the difference are the tolerances. When one manufacturer goes like, well, it's pretty good, Michelin will probably say, no, it's not good enough, and scrap that tire. So that's why you pay so much for a Michelin tire too, is because, you know, if the tire is not 100% that it should be, and it only takes a quarter of an ounce when they spin it on a perfect wheel, they'll scrap that tire before it ever goes out for sale.
Well, I am impressed about the least amount of weight it takes. Even when I rotate tires, you know, 6 months later, 5,000 miles, 5 to 7,000 miles later, I notice when I check the balance, it doesn't take much to get the balance right. Maybe move the weight a little bit or add a half ounce, but normally doesn't take much. Where I've had other tires, I'm not going to give names, but just oddball tires that sometimes it's kind of like, wow, what happened to this tire? It's like 10 ounces, not 10 ounces, it's like 3 ounces out of weight. And 6 months ago, it balanced out perfect, and it's a lot of work.
And it goes down to how the tires manufacture. Again, if the tolerance of the steel belts is very close, like you said, you won't have to add weight 6 months down the road because those belts haven't shifted at all.
So it's the belt shifting that's causing the problem. That actually what causes the balance problem?
Well, the tire's brand new. Over time, it heats up, cools down, heats up, cools down. So the belts will start to move a little bit in the tire. You want to minimize, and how well that tire is engineered is going to make a difference about how much weight it'll take.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left here. Now, if people out there are looking for a tire, and I know that most people call up, I bet you get this 100 times a day. How much does it cost for this size tire? And then you give them a price, and the next sound you hear is click, and maybe you'll get a thank you. But what should they be asking when they call? Just a size tire? Is there more involved in that? Just giving a tire size, and when they call for a price on the tires?
Well, I see, the competition for tires is great out there, and even with the internet. But usually when we give a price, we give a total price out the door, which includes, the lifetime balancing, us taking care of the tire. And sometimes others will not put those extras in there, and then I've heard people say, wow, I went there and I thought I was getting tires for $100 less. But by the time I was through, it was $50 more than what you had quoted me. So just get a complete quote. Make sure that you're getting the services that you need. If you're traveling nationwide, that the tire has a nationwide road hazard warranty on it. That there's somebody there if you need help, like 800 number, even if you're stuck in the middle of Alaska.
And that's what you are. You're part of a network of tire pros all over the United States. And if someone buys tires from you and they're in Anchorage, Alaska, and something happens to the tire, they will be able to make a phone call and find someone that can take care of it.
Right. And even if there isn't a Tire Pros dealer, you can go to the closest, whatever it may be, Firestone, Pep Boys, and they will be able to take care of it as well, and the program will pay for that.
That's excellent. That's a very good program you're a member of, and you've been a member of Tire Pros now. This is what, y'all's third year?
This is the third year.
That's what I was thinking. Y'all been doing it, and it goes for your store as well as Road Mart and Lynn Haven. Is there any other Tire Pro in Bay County besides y'all two?
No, we're the only two. Crestview, Pensacola, Tallahassee. There's some in Gainesville now. So
throughout the state, but
right throughout the state. But we're the only two in Bay County.
Okay,
it's because we're kind of an oasis in the middle of nowhere.
An oasis. That's so true. You really are. You're a breath of fresh water, cold water sometimes when it comes to it. Because when you give a price, we're talking about valve stems, balancing, rotating, all these right here, where a lot of people don't give. I call it bait and switch. Yes, this is the price we're giving you, and when we get you here, all of a sudden it gets. And that's why we don't give prices on the phone, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've been right in 36 years I've been in business.
Tires is a little bit different to make sure, but you're right. I try to avoid giving an estimate on other work, because usually, unfortunately, when the car gets here,
it's always worse.
Needs something else.
Isn't that the truth? It is so true. And the biggest thing is make sure you can communicate with the people doing the work, and you as well can communicate with the customers. Sometimes I've had customers come in here I can't communicate with, and I'm sure you have too. And you kind of like going, well, maybe I'm not going to be able to take care of this guy or this person. So,
Well, we see that a lot more nowadays, where people have worked on their own, or they feel like they've learned a lot about that particular thing on the internet, which I don't discourage trying to understand, how things work. But some of the things, we've done, or you have done 1,000 times, and we have a pretty good routine down, and we know what needs to be done. We talk about it all the time. Well, I don't want to change the water pump when I'm changing the timing belt or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just something that, is not the highest level of standards in our industry, so we really don't want to do it. We still love you. You're still a great person. We appreciate you coming to visit us. but we want to make sure that we can do the best job possible.
Especially when you're having to put your name behind it and give it a warranty. Hey,
Exactly.
Hanson, thank you so much. They can reach you at 873-8900, Monday through Saturday. Saturday, you're there till about 1 o'clock or so, but you're open, what, from 7 to 5? Is that what your hours are?
I'm usually here from 7:30 to 5.
7:30 to 5. All right. Thank you so much, Hanson. We're going to talk to you next week.
Have
next
a great
Friday
week.
again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now, everybody. We'll be right back with Mark Sarlo.
James Auto Center, we fix it right.